Do you want to be able to pick up any weapon you encounter in a dungeon or somewhere else, either it being a short sword, a bastard sword, a great axe, bow and arrow, daggers, or even a rapier if you're into that? Do you want to be able to don every armor in the game without hesitation and even be proficient with it? You should play a fighter. Welcome to the first ever episode of why you should play. And this time I'm going to talk about the fighter. The fighter is my absolute favorite class to play in every edition of Dungeons and Dragons, and it has to be the most underestimated class in the entire game. I think I have played more fighters in my 16 years I played D&D than I have played all the other classes combined. Yes, I've played every class at least once, but still fighter is the one I always grab back to. I hear a lot of people talking about how the fighter is the least powerful class in all of Dungeons and Dragons, and this is just not true to any extent. I guess that when new players compare the fighter to any other class, they are slightly underwhelmed when they read it on paper, just because of all the other classes are getting a very large box with all kinds of features, while the fighter just gets this little tiny thing in the top left corner. I always tend to look at player classes around level 6 or 7 because I feel that this is a level range wherein a lot of players play, because the higher levels are just less played and the lower levels are very overplayed. For me, level 6 or 7 just feels like the point wherein every class gets his own identity within a party, and the fighter is no exception to that. I just want to go over some things the fighter gains up until level 6 or 7, and I just want to talk about those things very briefly because I'm not going into details on numbers and power building and stuff like that. For me, the fighter is really a flavor class and I want to keep it that way. So the fighter at level 6 has a fighting style. He has a second wind, which is basically a self-heal. He has an action surge, which he can use to attack twice in one round. He has a martial archetype. If you look at the player's handbook, that's choosing between the champion, the eldritch knight, and the battle master. He gets an ability score improvement or a feat, and that last one is very important for the fighter. At level 5, he gets an extra attack, meaning that if he uses his action surge, he gets to attack 4 times in one round if he's only using one weapon. And then, of course, at level 6, another ability score improvement or a feat. Now listen to me very well. I know when you're reading these things you are slightly underwhelmed, but you want to know what the great thing is about a fighter? Give that guy a short rest and he's ready to do everything again. Yes, that's the great thing of being a fighter. You get to use all your stuff within one encounter, and then between encounters you just sit down for a few minutes, shake it all off, and you're ready to go again. When there is a situation where picking up a longbow is the only way to hit a certain creature, no problem for the fighter, just pick it up, you're proficient with it, and just shoot the mother out of there. If there is a situation where you have to hold off the dragon so your party can escape, which is a very fighter thing to do, just pick up a shield, pick up a short sword, and just rush in there and start dodging. Yes, I'm holding just a part of my player's handbook. That's because I've been using it a lot and everything starts to fall apart. My absolute favorite archetype for the fighter has to be the champion, because it's the most underrated. But you have to face it, it doubles your chances for critting. You at level 6 having 2 attacks, 4 even if you use your action surge, that means you have a lot of chances of actually critting the enemy. Combine that with great weapon fighting and you have a lot of damage output in one character. And we all know the fighter is more built around average DPS than spike DPS, but still having that extra crit chance really does help. Then there is the Battle Master, my second favorite style. The Battle Master is actually also just a martial type fighter, but he has a sort of system where he can change the face of the battlefield. He can push people around, make people trip and fall prone. He can help his allies, he can strike when his allies miss and stuff like that. So if you're into plotting out every move, this is really a good one for you. Then there is the Eldritch Knight, which I don't really like, but that's All personal. I like martial archetypes that don't have anything to do with magic. They just strike hard, they strike sure, they are good at almost everything, they can wear every armor, they can fight with every sword, axe or rapier they find, they can even push people around with a shield, whatever. Now, one of the greatest things about the fighter is the ability score improvements. At level 6 or 7, the fighter already has 2 ability score improvements, which gives you 2 chances to pick a feat. And while I'm not a big fan of always picking a feat over the ability score improvements, it is never a bad idea for a fighter. For example, you build yourself a dwarven fighter and you pick the durable feat and the dwarven toughness feat, and suddenly you have a guy that can take a lot of damage, dodge while he's doing it, so people have disadvantage on attacking him. You can have a dwarven fighter who is capable of self-healing about 24 HP and attacking twice in one round while dodging. You heard that correctly, he can take an action to dodge, he can heal up with the feat Dwarven Toughness, he can heal up with the fighter ability Second Wind, then he can use his action surge to go attack the enemy twice. And then after that he can sit down for 5 minutes and do it all over again. And if you combine the feat Durable with the Dwarven Toughness feat, all HP you regain from the Dwarven Toughness feat will have a minimum HP you heal. So you really have a concept to fall back on. So to summarize, the fighter is the guy who can dominate the battlefield with every weapon, every armor. He can push people around, he can even do some spells if you want him to. He has high crit chances, he can attack and self-heal, and he can really protect his party from danger while taking a beating and dealing out damage at the same time. There is another thing very cool about the fighter. Because of him being a martial archetype that doesn't really rely on magic if you don't choose the Eldritch Knight, there's only 1 or 2 ability scores you really need to focus on. When you, for example, play a mage, you have to focus on intelligence, sometimes even some charisma if you want to be one of those cool mages, but also having some constitution and some dexterity always comes in handy for survivability. But these things, constitution and say strength or dexterity, are just part of the fighter class. So you only have to focus on strength or dexterity and constitution, and you will have a very good fighter if you do that. So I will be covering all the classes in the player's handbook. If you like my channel and if you like my videos, please thumbs up and consider hitting the subscribe button. It really helps me out. Just comment below with what class I have to review next, and of course give me some tips. Or if you want tips from me or one of my viewers, just put it in the comments below. I read every single comment and I try to reply on every single comment as long as that is manageable. So I was Mr. Tarrasque. These were my opinions on the fighter, and I hope your inspiration will guide you.